Okay, so good morning everyone. I want to dedicate the shiur today for the refuat of Ohad Aaron Yitzchak Ben Elis, Ben Sh'ar Kol Cholei Israel. So we're going to continue from the first session we did about the 7 keys for optimum health, when we actually said that in order to talk about natural health in general, it's the main thing to understand is that health is something that it's not just one field that we need to touch. People tend to go usually naturally to diet and exercise, but we have 7 different keys, 7 different fields in which we need to focus when we think about achieving optimum health for ourselves. So the first and another thing is that every single one of those fields is as important as the other, and there is no way, they're not negotiable needs. There's something that we just have to, these needs have to be met, and they have to be met fully. In order to achieve optimum health, of course, we have, in our life, we have lots of compromises, weather, geographic area, availability of some kind of foods, sun, life, stress, all kind of things. But we don't need to get discouraged, because it's not a package deal, because every time you raise the level of that area, you improve the level of that area, you improve your diet, you improve your rest, you improve your exposure to sun, you will experience a better health. So it's not an all or nothing, it's just literally madragot, it's levels and steps, and every time you take more on board, you will experience better health. So don't get discouraged. What I'm going to talk about is what the optimum health, what is needed to do in order to get 100% healthy, which it's literally impossible. But at least we know, when you know what's your goal, then it's easier for you to make better choices. Okay? Because if you don't know what's the aim, then most likely that you won't even know where to start, and you probably make loads of mistakes. So you can't say, and I'm going to repeat that because it's important, a lot of people are experiencing these, and we see sometimes even great athletes, very young athletes that think of themselves very fit, suddenly collapse with a heart attack or a stroke, or young people who are very fit, active and fit, might experience all of a sudden death or some kind of illness, and we all look at that and say, he was healthy, she was healthy, how did it happen? It's because they focused only on that field. Okay, so they might say to themselves, because I'm very, very fit, I don't really need to look at my nutrition, or I don't really need to pay attention to my rest habits, or to my mental poise, or to my exposure to sun, or to my environment in terms of water and toxins around the house, or substance that I use, or medication. So it's not just being fit, it's the whole package that we need to look at. So in order to meet the body's needs, in order to maintain a maximum health, we need to look at all these 7 keys. So we talked about exercise and rest, which are the opposite. We need to exercise, we need to move every muscle, we need to also, we are 70% water, around 70% water, and water is the agent that actually travels through every cell and every system, and one of its job is to transfer the toxins out of the body, to help the body eliminate toxins. In order to do that, if you remember that we're 70% water, it's best that we will be always active, because these fluids needs to move. We know that everything that stands still in nature gets stagnated and get problematic. If it's a swamp of water, it becomes smelly and stinky, and it grows bacteria, and it invites all sort of bad and evil things. The same with the body. Because it's mainly water, we want this water to be active and moving. So moving all the time helps the water eliminate the toxins better. It's not just the ratio of bones, flesh, and muscles, which are also, we talked about the importance of growing muscles, not huge muscles, but just muscles to protect your skeleton. We talked about old people suffer from breakage of bones because every time they fall down, it can be two reasons. One is because the density of the bone is very, very low, because they lose a lot of minerals, because their diet is probably very acidic, or they take a lot of medication, or their blood is acidic, so they lose a lot of bone mass, or because they just don't have any muscles, and one of the role of the muscle is to protect the skeleton. So it's like a buffer. Babies, when they fall, and they fall all the time, they don't have fractures on their bones because, first of all, they're very, very hydrated as babies. We know that the hydration also brings flexibility, because if you imagine that every tissue in your body is fully hydrated, it gives us more flexibility. So flexibility is also a function of hydration. I heard an interesting theory that when people get old, a lot of people who get old, they get shorter.
Yeah.
They get short. I'm not talking about bent. That's something else. They can fix their posture, but they actually lose height. One of the reasons that this person suggested, it's because the links in the spine, these discs are losing, because we are being dehydrated for so many years. The level of the fluids between the discs gets lower and lower, so you're actually losing height. So there is an interesting book called Your Body Many Cries for Water, which I've purchased, and I haven't looked at it yet, but it sounds like a very interesting idea. Henry Lindler was one of the teachers of Herbert Shelton, which I'm teaching his philosophy. Henry Lindler was a German teacher, and he said that if there was a cure, if there was just one cure on the planet for everything, just one, there isn't, but if there was, it would have been water. But it's not so glamorous to treat all sorts of things with water when we have other cannons and bombs to suggest to people. And people with the placebo effect like to think that there was a big effort and there was something huge that had to happen in order to bring them health. So I wouldn't say don't pay attention, but they take it very, very lightly when the medicine can be just literally rest, which is the evil of so many things, just like literally rest and release stress, and water. We know according to the Torah that Hashem made it available to every person. Being healthy, it's one of the Hashem's ways. It's not something that was dedicated for any kind of an elite group with big brains and a lot of money that need to spend years and years in prestigious colleges or universities. It's something, as my teacher said, that if you can't explain or teach natural health or natural hygiene is a synonym to health. If you cannot teach natural hygiene to the watermelon seller in the marketplace, the guy who sells vegetables, then it's not natural health. So it has to be very, very simple that you can teach your kids. And even what I find is that the hard thing with natural hygiene is not to grasp the ideas and the principles and understand the laws. It's actually to erase what we already know. That's the hardest thing. It's not about money, because it doesn't cost more money. We can argue about buying organic produce but we all eat too much, too often, and we are busy doing other things and spending money on other things, if it's a medical insurance or appointments, so many times spent on appointment with doctors and physicians. I just imagine what would happen if people just release themselves from that and just believe that if they follow these rules, they would need the help of professionals. So we talked about rest and exercise, and the fourth key will be the counteract of nutrition. We talked about nutrition, so I'm not going to go into that. Just to remind you that when we're thinking about meeting your body's needs in terms of nutrition, we are suggesting a raw vegan diet, clear from toxins. It means that it has to be organic as much as possible. And when we define toxins, I mean, I said free from toxins. It's important to go back to defining toxins again, because when people hear the word toxins, they sometimes take it the wrong way, or they just say, oh no, I don't have toxins in my body. I heard it many times from people who are completely toxic, and they said, no, my diet is free from toxins. I eat very clean. So I wanna define the word toxins, but I will define it through the word food. In Hebrew, we say mazon and ochel. Yeah, in Hebrew there are two words, ochel and mazon. Do you know Hebrew a little bit? Do you know what ochel means? No. So in Hebrew, mazon is coming from the root nutrition, which nourishes you, and ochel is food, like in English. So there is like nutrition. If I try to translate, like nutrition and food, mazon and ochel. So mazon is everything that nourishes you, everything that you can actually get nourished from, and ochel, food, is everything that you can actually legally, kosherly shove through your pipe and stay alive, or and wouldn't collapse and die. So the definition of food is every substance that you can consume and your body is able to incorporate it into a living tissue, into a living cell, into a living organic form. That's nutrition, that's proper food. Now, if there are any compounds from that specific food you consume that cannot be utilized and cannot be incorporated into a living structure, the body has to extract it. It has to eliminate it because it's useless. And that it's in a highly, that's going to be expensive for the body, because we're going to lose your vigor energy. I mean, it's all about energy. So if you can't incorporate it into a living tissue, you have to extract it. You have to dispose it. And people think, oh, God, I heard it many times. People say, I'm taking supplements, I'm taking vitamin C because, when I said, how do you know how much you need to take? Who knows how much you really need, and how do you know that it's not going to be excess? And so, if it's going to be excessive, then the body will just extract what it doesn't need. That's a wrong view of the body, because everything that the body has to extract, because it's useless, it takes a lot of energy, and that energy it might be utilized for other functions that we like eliminate toxins, or thinking, or digesting, or exercise, or whatever the body needs. So if you spend your energy on things that you could avoid, then you end of the day you're less vigor than you could have been. And if you're looking at long terms, like 10 years or 20 years, you end up when you're 50 and you have aches here and pain there. And the Rambam promises us that there is no such thing as old age disease, and old people shouldn't have any kind of issues and any problems and any aches and any pains and any illnesses and any conditions. The only difference between a young person and an old person is that an old person can do everything that a young person can do, but just slower. That's the whole thing. So we accepted it as part of our culture that old people old people and illness, it's something that comes together. You cannot separate them. If you're old, yeah, you're probably under medication, and you probably have a backache, and you don't sleep well. It's something that in our, we already agreed to that. We talked about the four agreements. It's something we agreed. We signed that contract, but it has nothing to do with nature and with your potential. But sometimes we confuse normal and ideal, or normal and potential. Okay, so I want to talk today about water fast. I want to talk about fasting today, because we always talk about food and nutrition and what we eat, but it's one of the keys, because if we want to change our lifestyle, and if we want to improve our health, and we are thinking of embracing new kind of habits, we need to create a platform before. We need to build a basis before. It's like, I've heard a funny example. It's like you drive in your car and you use the wrong fuel. You use the wrong fuel, and you realize that something is wrong with your car, and you just realize that you use the wrong fuel, and say, oh, I'm gonna fix it. I'm gonna just go back to the gas station, and I'm gonna fill up the right fuel. Will it help? No, you need to take out the garbage first. It's not going to work if you fill it with the best fuel or the ideal fuel if you haven't took the time to eliminate the wrong one first. It's the same with the body. So if we are very, very toxic, or we're trying to get rid of some kind of a condition, before we putting the good stuff, we need to help the body eliminate the bad stuff. I can go on and on about long fast, which is something that I know it's very, very hard for us to do, because we can't do it without supervision, and it's also about budget and leaving your house and going away. So it's something that most people wouldn't do unless they are, unfortunately, have to do, because all the other bridges were born for them. Some people get to long fast only in that sense, when they have no other choice. But for us, for normal people, we might consider doing a short fast, or learn about fasting, or read about fasting. So we might consider just initiate a personal fast, maybe not in our house. But so I'm not going to get into the practicality of whether we will do it or not, but I just want to explain to you what are the benefits of fast, and how we should view fast, and when it is appropriate to fast, more or less, because it is the fourth key. And that's the basis of nutrition. Before you're thinking about changing your diet, and you are, or let's say you already changed some of your habits, and you're not seeing the results you were expecting, that can be one of the reasons, because there are sometimes this hard stuff, hard old material that will never ever leave your body unless you do a long fast. Even if you be a raw vegan for many, many years, it's not different rules through a fast, but during a fast, the body gets to do things that it will never ever dare to do in a normal day, even if you are on the best diet. Okay, it's like, I always like to give that example, because our brain is 30% visual, so it's very, very helpful to visualize things that I'm saying, then you can remember it better. It's like when we're cleaning for Pesach. We're doing things, we're sorting out rubbish that we never ever touch throughout the year. Even though we have time throughout the year, we might have few hours spare throughout the week or the year, we would not get into that Pesach cleaning. We would not rummage into that box or to that boydom or into that cabin. We leave it for Pesach, and during Pesach, we're doing this crazy deep cleaning or deep detoxifying of our space. And it doesn't look nice when you clean for Pesach. Everything is upside down. Things are not in the right place. Sometimes people get stressed and annoyed because it's so stressful to see how much we collect and how much we actually gather through the years and things that we don't need. So some people can experience cleaning for Pesach as a very annoying, stressful experience, and it's the same with fast. Some people can go through fast and feel very, very stressed, very fearful, and stagnated, and that fast wouldn't work for them well, because if you're not trustful, if you're not happy, if you're not relaxed, then things will not move. We talked about flow, we talked about, bless you, we talked about stagnation. So things in nature thrive only when there is movement, when there is flow. So if you're sitting in a fast and you're worried about this ache here and this pain there and this mucus and this, I don't know, abscess on your skin or your rash or whatever it is, and it's like cleaning the house and you're thinking, oh, I have all this mess, so what I'm going to do? Why did I? If you're thinking that during a fast, the fast is not going to be utilized properly, and it's not going to be useful. If you're already taking the time to fast, you have to make sure you understand what you're doing, or at least you're trusting someone who is experienced, and you can just trust them. So there are two ways to experience a fast, as the same as the two ways to clean for Pesach. You can, while you're cleaning to Pesach, you can say, wow, I'm so happy that I have this opportunity to do it once a year. I mean, even though it's forced, but it's, it's down on me that I need to do it, but I'm so happy because I know that in the end of that process, my house is going to look much nicer. I will feel lighter. I know I'm not collecting any useless stuff, or people might enjoy the things that I don't need. So it's more efficient. And again, it's all about efficiency. It's like having your kettle with water, but it's all scaled at the bottom. So it takes much more electric to heat up the same amount of water. But if you clean your kettle, if you clean it and there is no scale and there is no, if your water is not full of calcium, then it's clean. You don't need the same amount of electricity to heat up the same amount of water. So you're more efficient. You can do more things. You can be more active. You can be more vigor. You can be more alert. So what fast really does is helping your body go, like we say in our cell phone, is go back to factory setting. It just erases, it gives you the opportunity to erase everything that is not necessary. It's not serving your best interest. The fast itself doesn't do anything. What the fast is actually doing is allowing your body to do what it does every day, but in a more intense way. So it's not the fast itself, it's the body. The body has the only healing, and that's what we always say as a thumb rule in natural health, that the only healing force that is operating is the inner healing force. There is no healing properties in water or in cucumber or in lettuce or in acupuncture or in magnets or it's the only healing force that we have is our internal healing force. It's what Hashem gave to every living creature. We all, every organic system is self-conscious, is self-maintained, is self-developing, and is self-healing. That's the actual foundation of chiropractic. They think the same way in a way as natural hygiene. So the fast itself doesn't do anything. It's just a physiological rest to allow the body to grab all the energy to eliminate toxins, and it will dare to go into dark corners or really old stuff that it usually doesn't tend to go, because we eliminate toxins every day, all the time. We eat, we eliminate toxins, we sweat, we through the membranes, through the kidneys, through the bowels, we eliminate toxins every day, otherwise we would die. Okay, even if we eat healthy, even if we rest fully, even if we're happy, we always create toxins, because that's the way we breathe air, we exhale CO2. We didn't do any mistake by breathing fresh, clean air, but we still have toxins coming out. So we always have toxins in our body, but our job is to make sure these channels are always open and always operating to our best interest. So that's what actually fast is. The fast is allowing the body to do something that it doesn't dare to do on a regular basis in an extreme way. And if we are very toxic, it's not going to be pleasant. The same as if the body is, if the house is very dirty and full of rubbish, it's not going to be such a nice experience to just drag all these boxes and all these rubbish bags, and maybe some of the stuff is going to be smelly and old and dusty. The same way with the fast. Some people experience pain and aches, and sometimes it's a lot of emotional going on, and emotional stuff that we need to deal with, because the best way to fast is actually lie down with your eyes closed and try to reduce any irritation and any stimulation as much as you can, because you want all your energy, even the mental and emotional energy, you want it to be channeled into detoxifying yourself. One of the benefits from fast, apart from the physical benefit, is actually mental clarity. A lot of people report that after a fast or during a fast, they had got, their thoughts were better managed, and they were able to deal with emotions and thoughts in a better way. Because if you imagine, it's all about, again, it's rest. You stop all the stimulation, all the irritation, all the aggravation, everything. You just stop it, and then you can just deal what you've gathered through the years. And it's a good opportunity to sort out what is necessary, what is not serving you. And if you're doing it right and you're resting fully, then most likely that you will end up the fast with even better emotional poise and mental poise. One of Herbert Shelton's teachers said something very funny. He said, "You either poised or you poisoned." That was funny. Because one of the keys that we gonna talk about in the next session is mental poise. We have nutrition, rest, exercise, environment, sun.
Fast. Did you say fast?
Sorry?
Fast.
No.
We have water fast, which is cleansing, and then the last one is mental poise. Mental poise is maybe the hardest one to tackle, but it has to be. It's something that we have to deal with, and a lot of things are related to mental poise. My teacher says that from his experience in 20 years in clinics in Israel that he works with people, most of the illnesses that he sees are rooted in emotional and mental issues, especially diabetes. That's something that's he said 95% of diabetic people are because of it's happened. It was rooting in some kind of emotional distress. So you're either poised or you poisoned. So a lot of things that we do in terms of nutrition is because we have these suppressed emotion when we can't deal with them, so we just shove something in our throat in order to just wash these emotions away, and we don't want to deal with them. And just imagine what happens if you are fasting and there's no food, there's nothing else to help you out. You just have to literally deal with your emotions, with everything that you pushed aside, every suppressed emotion that you try to avoid for decades, and it's all coming. So if you have good support and you believe in the process, then the results can be fantastic. So fasting on its own is not something that has any properties. It's the body itself. We just get out of the body's way. That's what happens during fasting. Then the body can utilize all its energy for cleansing and detoxifying, because we are all toxic. None of us is 100% clean of toxins, and we all have hard material and old matter that is accumulating in our tissues. And it's actually miraculous, because we don't really understand how the body does it, but it actually after 48 hours of fasting, it just literally switches off your hunger mechanism, and you literally don't feel hungry. You don't want to eat. Now, there is a difference between starvation. A lot of people are worried about starvation, and they think that if they will miss a meal or miss 2 meals, they're probably starved to death. And sometimes we see in Yom Kippur, people are feeling very, very ugly, very yucky, very uncomfortable. They feel headache, they feel nausea, they feel... These are signs of a very toxic system. If you clean, more or less, then you shouldn't have any problem going through a day of fast with no symptoms. We know, especially caffeine. If you drink coffee, then and if you drink it regularly, then after a few hours, if you haven't consumed this cup of coffee, you're gonna develop headache, because the body get a message that if you don't bring me my substance, if you don't bring me my stuff, then I'm gonna detoxify it. Okay, so you're not gonna drink coffee. Fantastic. Now it's time to start detoxifying from caffeine. And this toxification process is irritating the nerves, and that's what creates the headaches. So if you're drinking a cup of coffee immediately, then the headache stops. And so people, so I needed that coffee. So that's really not understanding how it works. It's like a drug addict or a war patient who lies on his bed and is shouting to his nurse that he's full of pain and he's aching, and she gives him morphine and he relaxes. Does it mean that he needed that morphine? No. It's the same with coffee. So what is so miraculous is that the body knows how to actually get in every system and just takes the rubbish out and leave the valuable stuff intact and just clean. This is something that we can't understand. This is niflaot haboreh. This is what Hashem does. But this is what happens in fast. You don't have to worry about what's going on in your body. You don't have to worry how it's done. But it actually takes just the useless stuff, just the hard stuff. Just a quick word about starvation. When you finish a fast, if you let the body takes control, then the body will signal you. Then it's time to finish the fast. And when the body finishes cleansing everything, it will switch on again this hunger mechanism. So you'll feel hungry again. You'll get you feel it's a nice sensation to feel hungry. You feel a bit more alert. You'll be a bit more energetic. You might feel some redness around the cheeks. You look your blood's gonna come up your cheeks, and you feel maybe a sweet sensation in your mouth, and then that's a sign for you to finish the fast. You will want to eat. So in this stage, if you ignore it and you said, no, I'm going to continue fasting because I have more, or maybe I decided I want to do 21 days and it happens after 19 days and I want to be fanatic and I want to go all the way because this is what I've planned, then you're disconnecting yourself from nature, from the body, and you're thinking from here, from your head, instead of thinking from here, from your gut. The gut, nature is never wrong, but we might be wrong. So at this stage, it is dangerous to continue the fast, because if the body finished cleansing and finished actually utilizing all the energy it can, because we do have sugar in our muscles and we do have sugar in our bloodstream and we do have glycogen in our liver that is containing energy for those kind of emergencies. If the body finished utilizing all these spares, and we say, no, we want to continue fasting, then the body will have to dismantle and break down a vital organ to do that. And that's dangerous, and that is actually starvation. So we need to know also when to stop. Now, that's a planned long fast, but we can talk about short fast, like somebody has kind of acute disease. Jan wasn't feeling well last week, so she probably avoid food. She missed a meal. I'm sure she did. Yeah. or at least...
very little shopping to do last week. Food shopping, because I didn't eat very much.
Yeah, so this is something that it's not planned. You don't plan it. If you feel unwell, if you're not feeling hungry, then you should miss a meal. Herbert Chantal said that if you feel if you have any kind of emotions, if you are stressed, if you're angry, if you're not poised, if you're, I don't know, you have a pain between a meal, skip the next meal. You have to be ready for a meal. I mean, and he always speaks about the circumstances